Let's quickly recap what we learned in your first lesson. You understand what digital marketing is, its benefits, and the different areas where digital marketing takes place. You know common terms and acronyms, which are important to understand, as this is the language of digital marketing. Then we looked at objectives and KPIs, what they mean, and examples of top objectives with their main KPIs. And finally, we covered some performance marketing basics. If you have any feedback or anything that you are unsure of, let us know and either Morpheus or our student support team will assist you. So today we are looking at tracking and measuring your marketing efforts. We'll first be looking at marketing funnels, which will help determine what you need to track and how you will measure performance. We will go through some of the main strategic objectives a business will have, which would then be broken down into smaller tactics. We will look at tracking, what that means and why it is important, before introducing you to the web analytics tool, Google Analytics. The topic of tracking will be covered further when we look at specific platforms like Facebook, as the tracking requirements and the implementation for different platforms does differ. But it all begins with web analytics. So, what is a marketing sales funnel then? It is a collection of stages that you ideally want your potential customers to move through towards your key objective. It's called a funnel due to the volume of potential customers decreasing the further down the funnel you go. You cannot expect everyone who is aware of your business to use your business, to purchase it or use the service. What does that even mean though? If you think about it, is every purchase made without thinking about it beforehand? The answer is a resounding no. While many of us may be impulsive and can make small purchases easily, this is not the case the majority of the time, or at least it shouldn't be. So when someone is thinking about making a purchase, what does that thinking look like? And how does behavior change as a result? What kinds of things change? Well, firstly, the type of information, how we look for that information, and where we look for it. So if we just go through a quick example, although we will be looking at more of these as we go through the different marketing funnels, let's just say that we are looking to buy a TV. We might look at different brands and specifications first, and then move on to looking at reviews. To do this, we might have used a website and then look to social media for those reviews. We may have used a search engine to find that website using certain keywords. Then we might ask for a recommendation on social or visit the store's page and view from there. After that, we might compare pricing between the different stores selling the desired TV, which perhaps is done through visiting the different websites or perhaps using a price comparison site. So all these different things change depending on how far along in the decision process we are towards making that purchase. So why do you need a marketing sales funnel? It allows you to plan specifically how you will bring in traffic, as well as what you're going to use to target your audience with. For example, ad copy, your image, your video, your call to action, etc. It also helps you determine your KPIs and the metrics that you need to track. I just mentioned CTA, and this is a call to action. A CTA is a word or phrase that is designed to compel audiences to perform a desired action. For example, you want them to sign up to something, so your CTA might be sign up. Businesses need to make the action that they want consumers to take very clear. How do marketing funnels enable you to do these things? Well, firstly, you can serve different content and ads that are relevant to the behavior of the person when they're in those different phases. Remember from the last lesson how we talked about the fact that targeting people with more personalized ads increases the chances of a conversion. It also enables you to optimize your communication methods. So are you going to use email, social, search engines, etc.? And how do these things need to be optimized? And due to the tracking, you can adapt your targeting strategies. For instance, you might see that you have high awareness, so involving impressions, reach, and engagement, but you're not converting them down into the sales phase. This signals looking at your audience targeting, your ads, the channels that you're using, and optimizing the website or wherever you have led people to after clicking on your CTA. I just want to bring this up again because it's going to come up a lot. What is a conversion? A conversion happens when a site visitor completes a desired action, for example, submitting a form or making a purchase. So, how many people converted after clicking your CTA? The definition of conversion will differ based on the phase of the funnel that someone is in, and we will go through some examples shortly. First up, we have AIDA, and this is the traditional sales funnel that was created in 1898. So you can see this concept has been around for a long time, way before we had the marketing options that we do now. There are 4 stages to a sale with the AIDA model. We're going to go through them all, and then I'll explain some examples of what potential customers would do or see in each stage. Firstly, we have awareness, then we have interest, desire, and action. Now, with awareness, a potential buyer is just realizing a want or need for something. Someone in this phase might be viewing an ad or a page on social media, perhaps searching on Google and then seeing an ad. They might be reading a blog, perhaps interacting with your social media. This will hopefully lead to interest, and here they could be visiting your site, researching your brand, following your various social media pages, and comparing the business to other brands. This would move on to desire, where people move from liking a product or service to wanting it. They might be visiting the website again, perhaps submitting a lead if this is the business model. But here it is really about the business's marketing content, highlighting why your product or service is so good. And finally, action. And this would be where a consumer would make a purchase, perhaps take out a free trial or book a demo. It is important to know that the conversion path is not linear. Not everyone goes through these stages exactly, and people can jump back and forth between them. However, it does give good guidance to your strategy and is in line with the average consumer. Keep this in mind as we go through some other examples, and the fact that there are other funnels shows you just how subjective this can be. People choose different funnels to follow for various reasons, including the industry that they're in, their target audience, their overall strategy, etc. We are talking about target audiences in the next lesson. I have called this funnel a 6-stage funnel because there are so many iterations or different names for this one. For example, intent from the AIDA model is sometimes called confidence. Here we have awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, and purchase. What this has really done is break down the interest category into interest, consideration, and intention. Now, as I think you understand the basic principles of these funnels, let's go through some examples of what business actions or advertising might be in these different phases. In awareness, a business might have an ad on search engines, a post or blog on social media, for example, enticing people to click through to the website. In the interest phase, the landing page chosen would be relevant to what was promoted in the ad or the content. A chatbot might be on the site to assist with any queries. During consideration, a business might remarket to everyone who has visited the site, encouraging them to act with a CTA. For example, take out a free trial, submit a form, etc. Which would lead on to intention, where someone would submit that lead or take out a free trial, and this would really rely on what the business has done in the previous stages. The audience would still likely be retargeted with ads, reminding them of the business's best features or offering. Evaluation is where someone is making final decisions about whether to purchase or not. Again, depending on the business, perhaps an email would be sent out if they had those details. Website usability would be important here, and retargeting with content around their product or service, or perhaps offering a special offer. It is critical that here the business has showcased why someone should buy their product. If it was a free trial, what was their experience during this? Did they use it a lot? What is the pricing? People in this phase would consider this information again. They may even put items into a cart, for example, so a business could retarget them with ads based on what was in their cart, or perhaps even based on the page that they were on. And then purchase. Now here, the purchase process should be streamlined, and converters might be or should be retargeted to push other purchases. You can see that the running theme here is remarketing. As we know, many people don't convert on their first interaction with you, so you need to make sure that they don't forget about you. It is also much cheaper to inspire repeat purchases from existing customers than from new ones, and that's also where remarketing comes in. Then we have the see, think, do, and care model, which is something that has been pioneered by Avinash Kaushik and Mark Graham. Again, similar to previous models, though this takes retention into account. Starting with C, this entails a brand's largest qualified audience. We'll go through an example just now so you can see this. In think, it's the segment of consumers that are thinking about that particular product or service. Do is consumers who are ready to buy that product or service. And then care is ongoing communication to inspire repeat purchases and loyalty, otherwise known as retention. Now we have something called life cycle marketing, which is cyclical, so it never really ends. It's a relatively newly coined term, but the methodology behind it isn't new, as some previous funnels have included everything that you're seeing, just in a different way. Unlike ADA, it takes into account loyalty and advocacy, and existing paying customers feed into further strategies and performance. Loyalty means a consumer who continues to use your product or service, and advocacy is where someone is so loyal that they share your business with friends and family. This is where every business would like to be, as word of mouth, so people sharing the business, is free. Loyalty and advocacy is not so much about advertising as it is about exceptional products and services, customer care and support and pricing and all those things, but marketing can assist. Then just to show you the difference between a more traditional funnel like ADA and confirm how subjective digital marketing is, I've made up a funnel to illustrate what performance-based marketing would look like. We have a VAC funnel, which is view, act, and convert. It is a 3-stage funnel, and essentially all efforts are directed towards capturing the highest percentage of qualified or high intent users and driving them to convert. So we are not interested in an awareness objective, for example. We don't so-called care about the largest qualified audience. We want to get people who are in the do phase, the action phase, the evaluation and purchase phases. How we would target these people differs per platform, but think back to what we said in the beginning about how people's behavior and how they look for information changes based on these phases. For example, a lower intent search for cars is safety features of X car. A higher intent search would be X car for sale. You might be asking which funnel is better, and the answer is that it is subjective, as I have said before. It depends on the product or service, as well as what the business wants to prioritize. Technically, all businesses should be focusing on all phases, but they don't sometimes, or they can't. And perhaps they will choose one funnel for one objective and another funnel for a different one. For example, VAC for sales, ADA for newsletter subscriptions, but this would form part of a bigger objective at the end of the day. What I can tell you though is that performance-focused funnels prioritize conversion. And what that means is we have a detailed retargeting strategy as we are targeting people towards the bottom of the funnel. Whoever doesn't convert still has a higher chance than if we were to focus on other phases. We have a low priority on vanity metrics. Now, I love this explanation of vanity metrics from Tableau. Vanity metrics are metrics that make you look good to others, but do not help you understand your own performance in a way that informs future strategies. For example, impressions. Then upper funnel goals, they are tracked, but they are not reported. So of course we do monitor them because we are aware that from those different phases, people can move down to the performance-focused phases. But we don't take so-called credit for those goals because they aren't the focus with our marketing campaigns. We want people in the do phase now, not in a few months' time. Then with the remaining funnels we have gone through, plus many others, they prioritize all objectives. So there is generally a detailed content strategy because that is generally what is required when you're trying to target people in the upper funnel phases. They're looking for information, so you need to be able to provide that information. Then there is generally a wide channel use, both organic and paid, just because you're trying to reach people in all these different phases. And then there would be a variety of KPIs and metrics depending on the phase. In the beginning, perhaps it might just be a click, so a website visit. It could be reach or impressions. There are various. It depends on your site and your offering and what you have in place. I'm going to take you through a funnel example for the See, Think, Do, Care model using a mechanics services. People in the C phase would be anyone who owns a car. This is the largest qualified audience, though you could go even further and say that it is anyone over the legal driving age. If we move on to think, this would include people who are thinking about using a mechanic. Then people in the do phase would be people who are going to use or are already using the mechanic services. This would be as a result of the targeting in the previous two phases. And finally, care, which is about the service ensuring that it keeps their customers. Much of this is to do with the business, not its marketing, but of course, marketing can assist. And this is about having a great product or service that continues to add value. If we go to a VAC example, or view, act, and convert using mechanics as well, with view here, it would include people looking for car services or mechanics. So not just all eligible car owners, but people who own cars who are now looking for services and repairs. Comparing to the previous funnel, this is where it would fall under think. Act would be people who are perhaps submitting a lead or making a phone call, so they would be contacting that mechanic. And then convert would be people who are now using the mechanic services, so they have made an appointment or gone to the shop or whatever it is. So let's say that you choose a sales funnel that you're comfortable with. You've broken down all your potential or existing customers into different phases, and you've determined how you're going to communicate or target them differently within those phases. But what if it doesn't work? because it doesn't always work, or at least it doesn't always produce the desired result. It might be working, but not as well as you want it to. The step, therefore, that you would need to take before changing strategy completely would be to look at your customer journey. What is the difference between a customer journey and a sales funnel? Well, the customer journey is a detailed outline of every step a so-called lead takes to become a paying customer, whereas the marketing funnel is a model that businesses use to market to people at different stages of the buying cycle. We are looking at customer journeys in the next lesson. Let us go over what B2B and B2C is quickly. So B2B is business to business, so one business selling to another business, and B2C is business to consumer, so businesses selling something to individual people. Now, the reason I wanted to explain that is because the funnels between a B2B and a B2C can be quite different. So let's just look at an example using the 6-stage funnel, as the previous examples have been B2C. Some of them might be repeated, but then there are some key differences. So in the awareness phase, both would be looking for information. In the interest phase, B2C would be looking at products or services, and B2B would be looking at specific products or services and reviews. Under consideration, B2C might compare and read reviews, whereas B2B would be sharing research with their partners. Then under intent, we would have either adding a product to a cart under B2C, and B2B might be something like requesting a demo. Under evaluation, under B2C, we would review and go to checkout, whereas B2B might receive a contract. And then, of course, a sale would be to complete the transaction. So based on whether you are a B2C or a B2B, the funnel stages of what people are doing in those different stages will, of course, be different. Moving on to objectives, and something that comes up a lot is how do you determine them? It is difficult to give a general statement, as you need to know the specifics of the business, but things like awareness, sales, branding, etc. are the larger, almost overarching objectives of all businesses really, but these will have smaller objectives underneath them. And with research, it helps you to determine where and when you are going to achieve these. Now, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner, then you need to consider a few things, namely, where do you want your business to be in the next year and in the next 5 years? That needs to be a proper plan with detailed information, which would hugely inform your goals and your objectives. I would totally recommend our How to Start a Business course here at Shaw, if that's the direction that you're looking to go. Then, what challenges is the business and the industry facing? It is incredibly important not only to look at the business, but the industry that it's in as well. For example, Google has announced that they will be removing third-party tracking support. This is a problem for many businesses that sell services or software to other businesses, like marketing software. They are called third parties as the software and the data is not owned by the business using it. Now, as a result of this, these businesses are going to have to find a new way to track online behavior. This is a pretty major move that the industry has no control over. Then, what is the purpose of the product or service? We'll look at identifying this in the next lesson. However, this would have been determined when putting together a business plan. I'm going to take you through some more common objectives. We aren't going to go through objectives for large brands like market share and differentiation. Have a look at those if you're interested. But these involve, or as these involve, many aspects that are overwhelming at this point. A common objective is increasing customer reviews. As we know, positive reviews increase the likelihood of converting and have other benefits, such as SEO rankings. It could be a short-term objective working towards a long-term objective. such as reputation. Now, reviews impact reputation, as do many other things like social media presence, responding to critical feedback, content strategy, and more. Reputation is about how consumers perceive you. Are you friendly, quick to respond, deliver on time? Do you own a quality product or service? Reputation is not only the responsibility of marketing, it involves all aspects of a business, from customer service to product delivery, community management, that's managing a social page as an example, and far more. A good reputation equals more sales and vice versa. Brand engagement is about increasing the interaction rate with customers. So on whatever channels that you communicate with customers, let's say social media, email marketing, support, etc., improving on that rate of interaction. I'm sure you have picked up the theme by now. Higher interaction means a higher chance of conversion. It can contribute to your reputation, and it also widens the pool of people that you can target with advertising, with retargeting. Let's say you are a retail business or you're a drop shipping business. So you're selling products that you don't own, and the merchant or the product creator, manufacturer, handles delivery to the consumer. The difference between your costs and your CPA is your margin. So you sell a product for $11 and it took $10 to acquire them. Your profit is therefore $1, which is a margin of 10%. If you reduce your CPA to $8, your margin is 37.5%. So the higher the margin, the more profit you make. So this objective is about optimizing your marketing using various tactics. The how of how you would do this includes things like landing page optimization, targeting changes, different keywords and bids, all depending on where you are advertising. And these are things that we're going to be discussing in future lessons. Then we have retention, which is a very common goal, and that is increasing the customer retention rate. As I mentioned earlier, it is much cheaper to inspire repeat purchases as opposed to getting someone new. So here, the objective would be to increase the number of returning purchases. This might be done with email marketing, remarketing across social, promotions, etc. But remember what we said in the last lesson. The bulk of the retention objective rests with the product or the service, the customer care, the quick responses, and more. Speaking of promotion, we have promotion as an objective, and this would form part of a bigger objective, such as awareness, sales, leads. You would be enticing potential customers by offering promos, coupons, discounts, etc., all in the name of attracting more people to your business. It might not be as valuable initially, or you might not see the value in it initially. No one wants to discount their product or service, but looking long term, if you keep these people, your investment would be returned tenfold. And then there is price discrimination, which sounds terrible, but it's not really. It is finding methods to charge varying prices based on customer segments. So basically it's charging more to people who can afford more or are willing to spend more, and charging less to people who can afford or are wanting to spend less. Again, this might form part of bigger objectives, for example, retention and sales. With this objective, the business wouldn't be making a loss. Everything would still be priced to be profitable. But for example, you have a segment of people who use the features in their free trial often, and then you have another segment who don't use it often at all, despite taking out the free trial. The higher engagers would probably be willing to pay a higher price for the premium product than those who aren't using it. They see the value in the product more than those who haven't been engaging with it as often. Various discounts could then be used for these groups. But also, discounts aren't always discounts, though I'm sure you knew that. It is just marketing. There are several resources to help you set specific and realistic objectives Two big ones are market research and market analysis. Now, there's a difference between the two. Market research entails research of target markets, so people that you think will want to purchase that product or service, and existing customers. Whereas market analysis is analysis of the actual industry that the business falls on or falls within. So this would include competitors, technology being used, pricing, etc. Conducting these things would be an expensive exercise to do properly and would also generally be done before launching a business. However, the takeaways from this research and analysis will differ when it comes to the marketing aspect of a business. Basically, don't stop because you don't think you can do it properly. Do what you can with the resources you have available. Also, there's trial and error, which is arguably one of the best ways to learn and grow. Here are some of the free sources for research. First, there is Google Trends, which is where you can see the popularity of a search term or a topic over time. You can see this based on location, so you can get quite specific. This helps indicate how much of a need there is for your product or service, or whether you need to be looking at other keywords and topics. Then there is keyword research, and this is something that we'll be spending a lot more time on when we look at Google Ads and SEO. There are various free tools for researching the popular keywords that are relevant to the business, including answerthepublic.com, something called suval.com, Google Ads, the keyword planner, though this does require an account. Then we also have isearchfrom.com, and there are many businesses that offer free trials to get keyword volumes and competitor insights. For example, moz.com, they offer a 30-day free trial, and that's great for that research. If you would like me to send the links about what I've just spoken about, please pop me an email on support@shoreacademy.com and I will shoot those off to you. Then social media presence is about looking at your competitors' activity on social. In some cases, you'll only be able to see organic information, but in the case of Facebook, you are able to see all the ads that a brand is running. If you visit their Facebook page, on the right you will see something called page transparency. Clicking on that will show you a page of the ads that they are currently running. It is very interesting and can give you insight in terms of what they are pushing, what they are offering, and how their ads are crafted. Then, of course, any owned data that you have, whether it's from site tracking or email sign up, etc. That is the perfect resource when it comes to market research. So it is all very well and good to have these fantastic objectives and no funnels and have lovely money to spend on marketing. But if you don't have tracking in place, it's all a bit pointless, because then you have no idea which tactics and channels are performing for which objectives. While many of the platforms that you advertise on will have their own tracking in terms of being able to report what is happening on their specific platform. But if you want to see more than vanity metrics, you need to have your own tracking in place. We are covering web analytics in this lesson, as we will be looking at other platforms in future lessons, but web analytics is the term for tracking activity that happens on a website. One of the first tools that comes to mind when talking web analytics is Google Analytics. It is a free service that provides website statistics and analytical tools, and it is the most widely used analytics platform in the world. There are many others, some free and many paid. It's very hard to say which is better. I would argue that some are more user-friendly, but there's a lot that you can do and see with Google Analytics. And it doesn't just provide data such as clicks, impressions, conversions, transactions, time on site, and all of that. It also provides information on the behavior and interests of website visitors, making it a great source for determining targeting as well, as you will have more insights. Unless you know and understand the terms that are used in Google Analytics and analytics in general, you won't be able to get much from the platform. There is user, which is referring to a person. Then there is session, which is a group of interactions with your site. Not specific interactions, all interactions combined. For example, the visited pages, the transactions, the other conversions, etc. What happens with a session is that if there has been inactivity on the site for 30 minutes, the session will be closed. Let's say that someone is on a website, they are browsing around, and then they get distracted or they move on to something else, but they don't close the website in their browser. Google, after 30 minutes of inactivity on the site, will close the session. So then if they interact with the site again a while later, a new session will be created. So one person can be responsible for more than one session, just like one person can be responsible for more than one impression. Many people do close the site on their browser, and then something called session duration is the average number of minutes spent interacting with the website. The average session duration is nowhere near 30 minutes, though you might have a small group of users who do this, and it's also based on the site. For example, maybe it has a lot of content. Then we have bounce rate, and this is the percentage of users who exited your site after visiting just one page. Let's say that someone clicked on an ad which led them to a specific page, like the Contact Us page. But after that, they did not visit other pages. They closed the page in their browser, or the website in their browser. This is a bounce, and you would see the average bounce rate per page. Depending on the website, the higher the bounce rate, the weaker the performance would be. With some sites, though, a high bounce rate is not an indication of an issue. For example, a one-page lead form, which does not direct them to another page afterwards. For example, a thank you page with a different URL to the form. In this case, a bounce is good. It doesn't mean anything negative. Then there is conversion rate, which will also come up in general throughout the course. We covered what a conversion is in the previous lesson and just now. Conversion rate is the percentage of people who converted versus the total number of people who visited the site. Of course, not everyone converts. This metric doesn't just apply to Google Analytics. Then we have acquisition, which is in this case referring to acquiring website visitors, not those who just converted. When looking at acquisition, which you will do a lot in analytics, you'll see various sources like direct, paid search, organic search, social, referrals, and you want to know where these acquisitions came from to see how they're performing.